folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. So there's a lot of things that's going on in the last 24 hours, so I wanted to jump in here this evening and make a quick video. Hopefully it'll be quick, to kind of give you guys some updates. I know that a lot of this stuff, you probably have already heard it because it's traveling all over the interwebs quite a bit, like I said, in the last 24 hours. But I think there's some things that we need to be aware of because I think there's some movement going on. Could be wrong. It's just more of a gut feeling than anything. And you probably should be, kind of on your toes. Doesn't mean that something big and bad is on the verge of happening. Just means that as things start to kind of get busy in the information realm, that maybe we should, be a little bit more on our toes. Obviously, the big thing is this DHS, terrorism update bulletin that was released, and you've probably all heard about this one. This one is just, especially in the kind of the prepper world, it's become quite big. And basically what it's saying is well, anyone that is opposed to all these health crisis, provisions that are being put into place to try to, squash this deadly disease that's floating around, that they could be deemed possible, dangerous extremist, that they could be. And it even mentions in here, it even talks about, I've got it here on this, it says, these extremists may seek to exploit the emergence of the C-19 variants by viewing the potential reestablishment of public health restrictions across the United States as a rationale to conduct attacks. This is interesting. Pandemic-related stressors have contributed to increased societal strains and tensions, driving several plots by, extremists and blah, blah, blah. I like how they're trying to make it, well, it's because everything's just so stressed. It's just pushing people over the edge. I don't have them to show, but there's a video out of, I think it's Australia. And it's this guy that refused the thing and refused all the, the mandates down there. And he was, basically abducted, taken into custody, and given a mental health screening. And the guy seems to be perfectly normal. And they've determined that, well, he's refused to comply with this because of mental health reasons. And here we have, the related stressors have increased, societal strains and tensions, okay? Now, what does this mean? The DHS has flat out said they have no actual credible threats. They're just putting this out because, well, they think things could be heating up over the, next few months. And it's quite interesting that this was put out just after it was in the news that the White House is considering increasing again the restrictions, and that they've wanted to. In fact, in this article here, U.S. World News Report, some of the stuff in it, it says here that, and I'm reading as you guys can see it on the screen, White House officials say Biden wanted to initially operate with restraint to ensure that Americans were ready for the strong arming from the federal government. The federal government the federal moves have been carefully calibrated. It's a very small print on my end, to encourage a wave of businesses and governments to follow suit. So in other words, they wanted to kind of hold back just a bit, to kind of get the people, which is exactly what I've said on here for the last few weeks. That they want to see things here in the United States like we've seen in Australia and we've seen in Germany and the United Kingdom, and they want that, but they don't want to poke the bear too quickly, so they're taking their time. It says down here, still, while more severe measures such as mandating the thing for interstate travel or changing how the federal government reimburses treatments of those who are without the thing have been discussed, the administration worried that they would be polarizing at the moment. That's not to say that they won't be implemented in the future as public opinion continues to shift toward requiring the thing as a means to restore normalcy. So they've kind of held back kind of moved into this slowly, and we've seen this just daily and weekly progression into, more and more stuff. And then now all of a sudden we get this DHS, notice that, well, there could be people that's just too stressed out, that the pressures of all this have just been too much on them, and they could act out in violence, and we should be ready. That is happening, and I think that's very serious. It doesn't mean that they're going to actually do something, but usually when you start putting all these pieces together and they start putting out these warnings, that's kind of an indicator that something in the future could be happening. This bulletin that DHS put out is between now and November. So between now and November, before that dark winter happens, things could get pretty serious. And this is just one of the things that's in the news. Obviously, the other big one, and I'm going to connect this, I'm not just bouncing around, so bear with me, is this stuff that's happening in Afghanistan. You probably have all been aware of this. This has been building for a while, the withdrawal of our troops from Afghanistan. And it's not just the withdrawal, it's how it's being done. And it's being done very poorly. And we're setting ourselves up as a nation to go through something that could make Saigon and Somalia pale and look small in comparison to this. There are several thousand Americans and Afghanis that supported Americans still in Afghanistan that they're trying to get out. The Biden administration for weeks have said, it's not going to be that big a deal. We'll get out. It's okay. They thought that they had about 90 days before things got worse. Well, of course, in the last, couple of weeks at least, the Taliban has just swamped the whole country, and they've taken over 75% of the country. And as of the making of this video, there are news reports coming out of Afghanistan that they are at the border or at the gates of the city of Kabul, and some reports saying that they actually have entered the city and that they are making advances towards the airport where you see that little rabbit? They're making advances towards the airport where U.S. Personnel are located. And there is a worry, I'm putting up some screenshots because there's a lot of stuff here. The worry is that they're not going to get out in time. Biden announced today that they're sending an additional 1,000 troops over there, but those troops aren't scheduled to arrive till sometime this next week, which will probably be too late. When we left everything, and that's why the rabbit was running. When we left everything, and now the Taliban has Black Hawk helicopters. They have fully functioning drones, just hordes of guns. They have been displaying this tanks, MRAPs, armored vehicles, all kinds of stuff. We just walked away and left it. And so now we have this really more heavily armed Taliban that we're walking away from. Now, how am I connecting this? This is all speculation, okay? All speculation. But there are instances in history that kind of back this up. Is this happening? Not necessarily, is it being allowed to happen? Is it being allowed to happen? Is it being flooding the news? Is it being used as a distraction? I'm not saying these events aren't happening. I believe that they are, and I believe that there are American lives in danger, and we could very well see a bloodbath over there. We could see something very horrible. And then even once we get out, I think we're going to see probably a kind of a genocide happen there. There's already been throughout Afghanistan when the Taliban takes over these areas. They're just going around and assassinating anyone that was believed to support the Americans while we were there. So it's going to get worse. And there's all kinds of politics. The Chinese, the Silk Road train that's going through. They're wanting to put it through Afghanistan. Taliban will be in control of it. Potentially China acknowledging the Taliban's authority there. There's all kinds of stuff going on in that area. But what I'm talking about is we've got things going on here in the home front that's just been thrown out there at us in the last few days. And then now all of a sudden the news has really shifted to what's going on over there. And it's a big screw up. I mean, to put it is G-rated as I can for this video. What we've done, it's a big mess up. We completely, as a nation and as a military, completely dropped the ball over there. And it's very possible we're gonna have lives lost. Is it being done or being allowed to happen as a distraction? I can't tell you that for certain, but there is a little bit of me that's kind of wondering. And makes me wonder, is this being, you know, something happening over here so that certain things can be shifted and implemented over here? I don't know. And I know that I'm really kind of, you know, a lot of hypotheses here, but I really believe that something is starting to move and something's starting to happen because of just the little indicators that we're hearing. And of course, you know, the president's on vacation. We're hearing virtually nothing out of him and the entire White House. And then there's all this other stuff going on that I won't get into much today, but probably in the next video we'll talk about with like the weather and you know, the amount of earthquakes. There's been 6 major earthquakes in the past 7 days on this planet. When I say major, that's 6.0 and larger. Of course, the latest today in Haiti, whereas last I saw, over 300 people have been confirmed dead, and the death toll is continuing to rise. This stuff is happening. There's major flooding in Japan, earthquake, volcanic activity in Japan, major wildfires all over the place. I'm not saying all this to make you think, oh my goodness, the sky is falling and the end is near. I'm just telling you that a lot of times when we start to see a buildup of real world things and then things that they might be manipulating, it's very possible that that's being done to distract you from the things that they're actually working on here in the United States. And it's pretty apparent that one of those things that they're working on is implementing a much stricter rules and regulations. So, you know, could we see border crossings, and I'm talking about state-to-state border crossings, with some type of, you know, paperwork that you have to cross? I know a lot of people saying that's a logistic nightmare. That's true, but during the first lockdown, that was in fact happening in a lot of, not all, but along several state lines. People were being stopped and checked to see where they were coming from and where they were going. So I'm not saying that it would happen everywhere, but it could happen. And there are other things that are out there just in the whole conspiracy and whispered realm that could be happening. So my gut tells me to kind of just be watching, because between the next few days and between now and November, there's a strong possibility that some things could be making some big moves. It's almost like a chess game, and they're slowly moving those pieces on that chessboard to where we're going to be completely surrounded. And I think that's their intention. And I don't know for certain that this stuff going on in Afghanistan is horrible and as big as a mess up as it is, if it's connected in the sense that it's being used as a distraction or not. I can't say. But I will say this, it would be a good time, while a lot of people are distracted over, you know, earthquakes and volcanoes in Afghanistan, and the president seems to be, you know, on vacation, to have something happen or things being put into place. All right, folks, that's about all I have. The sun has gone down and I'm losing light, so I will catch you in the next video.